As somebody who suffered depression and overcame depression, I want to share with you 15 things that just might be making you depressed for no reason at all. And they may not be what you expect. Hey guys, I'm Liz and this channel is Mindfully Inspired. It is full of videos to help you transform your mind. Because when you transform your mind, you can transform your life. At the end of this video, I'm also going to be sharing with you the one key thought that really gave me a sense of empowerment and was really able to help me shift and transform my mindset. So make sure you wait till the end of this video so you don't miss that tip. Let's get into these 15 things. The first one is thinking of the problem and not the solution. I found that when I was struggling, or it could have been even something simple in my day-to-day life, I was so focused on the problem, ruminating on the problem, what that problem meant, how that problem was going to influence my life, instead of just thinking about the solution. Once I was able to really identify that's what I was doing and instead focus all of that energy over to thinking about the solution, I was able to not only find a solution to my problems easier, but I was able to overcome the negative mindset that came with thinking of the problem. And the next one was knowing my boundaries and saying no. This is so big. It could be a whole YouTube video, but please spend some time with yourself and really, truly define your boundaries. Define what it is that you like to do with your time. Define who it is that you like to hang out with. And when you're in a situation where you don't want to go to an event or hang out with a person or just to do an activity, really empower yourself to say no to that activity. Next one was big for me and it caused a big shift right away, and that is sleeping in. I found that I would lay in bed in the morning and kind of toss and turn when in reality what was happening, I was living in my negative thoughts. I was dreading my day. I was making up bad news stories of what was going to happen in my day, and that made me not want to get out of bed. So I would toss and turn and fret and continue to overplay the bad news that I thought was coming to me in my day over and over in my mind, instead of just changing my surroundings and changing that habit and just getting out of bed so I wasn't lying there contributing to thinking bad thoughts. The moment I had this awareness and then decided to just get up and go make my morning coffee and stop that behavior, that instantly started to propel me on a positive path forward. Another thing that was keeping me depressed for no reason was the content I was consuming. I got really honest with myself with what content am I consuming and does it make me feel good? The content I was mindlessly consuming was keeping me depressed for no reason. So instead of listening to music that I didn't really enjoy on the radio in the car, I switched over to listening to podcasts. Just this simple awareness of what's the content I'm consuming and how does it make me feel can again move you on that path towards feeling better. Which is a perfect time for me to remind you of the next thing that might be keeping you depressed for no reason, and that is not trusting your inner voice. Learning to trust that inner voice is probably an underlying theme of every single tip that I am going to give you in this video. You have to be able to hear that inner voice to know what kind of content makes you feel good or makes you feel bad. You have to listen to that inner voice to know what your boundaries are and when is the right time for you to say no. So I really hope you take some time to listen to that inner voice and cultivate a relationship with that knowledge that you already have inside you of what you need to do to make your life feel better. Now, this is a not what you expect tip because I don't think anybody talks about this, but it's something I've been pretty passionate about for a very long time. And that is knowing your body and how it likes to move. We all know that exercise and physical activity is a key component to recovering from depression and feeling better every day. That goes without saying. But what we don't get is the permission to do what we enjoy when it's time to move our body. There can be so much pressure to get into the latest trend, and you might not like to do it. Learn to understand what your body likes to do. That could be yoga, but that could be lifting weights. That could be going hiking. That could be taking a dance class. When you get in tune with your body and how it likes to move, you really will start feeling good. And it may be one of the things that's making you depressed for no reason at all. But as we're talking about moving our body, the next thing is remember to recognize burnout. This is one of the major things that was keeping me depressed. I was feeling burnt out, but I felt this pressure from I don't even know where to keep going. It was never enough. It was never good enough. I could never get enough done in the day. And I would get so burnt out that I would just collapse in my bed full of depression, feeling sad, and just feeling like overwhelmed with not feeling good. But when I learned to recognize burnout, when I learned to recognize I have done too much today and I need to take a break for myself, and if you can do this, again, you may start building up a tool in your toolbox from something that's making you depressed that really doesn't need to be. Another one, and this really doesn't need to be making you depressed because usually it's not real, and it was creating stories in my head. I would create stories in my head of what I thought was going to happen. Like if I went to this party and, X person was going to be there and maybe this is what they were going to think of me. This is a tough one, I'm not going to lie, but if you can identify when you are creating a story that you don't know is going to happen, and usually 9 times out of 10 they don't happen. Like that's how that experience was for me. It was not really something that was actually going to happen. So if you can identify this, you can stop something that is keeping you depressed for no reason. The next one is kind of big and definitely hard, and this can be a challenge if you're overcoming depression. So I want to take a moment to recognize that this can be a challenge if you're overcoming depression or if you're suffering depression, but it is a worthwhile one to try to do, and that is try to stop giving up on your goals that you're setting for yourself, especially the little ones. I know when I was suffering depression, everything seemed difficult. Absolutely everything seemed difficult. And I would set these goals for myself that were really, I identified that I was setting way too big of goals. I was actually setting unaccomplishable goals for my day of like my to-do list was miles long and it was unrealistic. So maybe instead of getting frustrated and not getting those goals done, start to set really achievable, smaller, like very achievable, like super easy goals. Maybe today it's just today we're putting away the laundry. Maybe that's today's goal. And you can start to turn those goals into successes instead of setting goals, quitting, and getting frustrated. The next one's a big one. It's a whole YouTube video. In fact, it's chapters of YouTube videos. And that tip is know your routines and change them. Your day-to-day routines are a pattern that you're doing, and a lot of what we do, we're doing just activating from a subconscious place. For me, a no-brainer routine that I do every morning is get up and walk to that coffee maker and turn it on. That's an example of a simple routine that we're doing in our day-to-day lives that we're really not thinking about. We're really doing it with our subconscious mind. If you have moments of your day that feel bad to you, that you know are triggers for your depression, start looking at the routine around that and maybe see if you can change that routine. Maybe you can do that pattern a little tiny bit differently. Like I said, this is a whole YouTube video, so I'm not going to go into it anymore, but just start thinking about your routines. What part of your routine is making you depressed for no reason? Because maybe you can just tweak that routine a little tiny bit and you can change your whole entire day. We're getting close, we're almost at the end, and don't forget, I have this big solid tip at the end that you can do that is going to empower you. I don't know, it empowered me like absolutely nothing else, and I'm excited to share it with you. Another thing that could be keeping you depressed for no reason is hiding your depression from people. The first thing I did to help me recover from depression was tell the people closest to me that I was suffering depression. I am really lucky that I have some close friends in my life, and they didn't know that I was suffering depression. They knew something was wrong. They knew I just didn't seem like my normal self, but they didn't know I was suffering depression. when I told them I have depression, I am so sad all the time, I am so sad all the time for what feels like no reason, and it feels like something I can't control, every single one of them said to me, we've got you. We are going to hold you in this space. You just get to be sad. And in telling people, I felt like I got to fall down, and I truly felt like these people carried me. And that changed everything. So if you're currently hiding your depression, I challenge you to find one person that you can talk to about it, because that really was the catalyst for change for me. And that pretty quickly led to the next change for me, which was taking daily time for myself. So I recognized I was tossing and turning in bed, and I decided to start getting up early, and I knew I needed to listen more to my inner voice. I started waking up early and journaling out every single morning till I got to know myself. And that's why on this channel, you'll see a lot of videos that teach about journaling, different ways of journaling, different ways of manifestation journaling and gratitude journaling. Taking that time for myself daily, starting to journal first thing in the morning instead of laying in bed tossing and turning, was life-changing for me and helping me to hear my inner voice. So I'm gonna drop all the journaling videos down below if you're wondering if that's something that you can start doing right away. The last three kind of go together, and they're going to lead into my tip, my transformation tip, that I'm so glad you're still here waiting for. So those last three things are: stop letting other people define your happiness, stop comparing yourself to others, and start defining your life purpose. So often we are waiting for other people's approval for us to be able to feel happy. If somebody tells us that our outfit is cute, now suddenly we're allowed to also think our outfit is cute and be happy with it. Or we're comparing ourselves to others. That person has a bigger house. That person has a nicer car. That person is doing more at the age of 27 than I am. What is wrong with me? Stop comparing yourself to others. This is gonna make sense. Keep sticking around for a little tiny bit, because I'm going to tell you how and why none of this matters, and it's keeping you depressed for no reason. And the very last thing I said was define your life purpose. It can really keep us depressed, this feeling like we have no purpose in life. We don't know where we're going. So defining your life purpose can really, really start to empower you from those feelings of depression. And that's where I want to leave you with this one tip. This was a light bulb moment that happened for me. It blew my mind, and ever since I really started to embody this in my life, it really started to change my life and what I'm doing with it. Defining what abundance means to me. I gotta give you a little story. A lot of the times we think about abundance, success, happiness, wealth, joy, a great life as having a big career and a big house and a fancy car, and we get inundated by social media posts or external sources telling us and defining what happiness should look like to us. But I would watch this documentary of this guy who lived in a one-room cabin in Alaska. The cabin was so small he could barely turn around inside of it, and he would take his baths by running outside in the river, and he looked so incredibly happy. He was truly living in his version of happiness. And it started to make me question, well, wait, if this guy is crazy happy living in a one-room cabin in Alaska and somebody else is crazy happy driving a Ferrari, maybe happiness is different for each of us. And have I actually defined what happiness is for me? Have I defined what the term abundance means to me? And I realized I hadn't. I was letting all of these other outside forces and outside influences telling me what happiness should be for me, what abundance should be for me. I started researching it, and it's a whole nother video for another day, but I will tell you one thing that I decided was the definition of abundance for me, and that is having control of my time. It is vitally important to me. I'd be happier making less money because time and controlling my time is my definition of happiness. So with that thought, I will leave you in this video. Subscribe now, come back for more, and we'll continue with more in future videos. I'll see you again soon.